The same shoes. I've been giving L's like I know love and I can't lose. For myself, man, I can't lose. For my family, man, I can't lose.
All right, guys, welcome in to a brand new podcast we're starting here at the Jordy Culotta Show. This is the Rally Time Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Babin. Christian is here as well. He will be producing the show, kind of co-hosting with me, my partner for this baseball season. And that's what this show is about. This show is about LSU baseball. It's a part of the Jordy Culotta Show wider, network channel, but this show specifically is going to cover all things LSU baseball. We're going to kind of go more in depth into covering the games and recapping the games. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to recap opening weekend, LSU with a very impressive performance against Purdue-Fort Wayne. But before we do that, I feel like it's really important to kind of introduce myself. My name's Justin Babin, and I've been working with the Culotta Show since the start of last football season. Did a couple of post-game shows, was a part of a couple of post-game shows we did early in football season, and then as we went along, we did some watch parties for the away games. Me and Christian were both a part of those, and that was really fun. Really enjoyed it, but I have always loved LSU sports personally. LSU baseball, LSU basketball, but especially LSU baseball. The thing is that it's always been a part of me. LSU sports, football, basketball, but baseball, I can always remember kind of watching it with my dad, watching it with my family, and really enjoying it and loving it. 2023 was such a special season because before then, they hadn't won a championship since 2009 when I was only 5 years old, so I didn't really understand baseball at that time. So getting to see Tommy White, Dylan Cruz, and Paul Skeens lead the Tigers to their 7th baseball national championship was so special. It's a season and a time in my life I'll never forget, and I already had a fire for it and a passion for LSU baseball, but it just grew after that season. But getting that introduction out of the way, I hope this show is very informative for you guys and also fun. I hope it's fun to sit back and kind of go more in depth on this team and the games. We're going to do that today, and we're going to have fun with this. We'll be a part of it all season, and we're really excited. But let's get into the show. So today's show, as I said earlier, is going to be about opening weekend. And opening weekend was impressive on all fronts. Hitting, pitching, fielding, all of it. It's a bad Purdue-Fort Wayne team, but I've seen LSU teams struggle against lower competition. They struggled against VMI to open up the season in their first game of the season last year. And really, you didn't see the same struggle, except for maybe, you could say in the second and third game, Saturday and Sunday, it took like 4 or 5 innings for the bats to really get hot. But eventually they got hot and were able to put runs on the board. But LSU won Friday 14-0, Saturday 10-1, and Sunday 8-1. And again, it was a dominant performance all around, but the thing that impressed me and stood out to me the most was especially the pitching staff. The pitching staff looked awesome. They looked great all around. And yes, it's lesser competition, but I feel like with the stuff some of these guys have, it plays anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's Purdue, Fort Wayne, or the SEC. The stuff these guys have that they showed you over the weekend plays. It plays in college baseball for sure. So we're going to kind of go through the pitching rotation, and we'll get to the hitting later, but I really want to focus on the pitching because, again, that's what stands out. So it starts with Friday. The starter was sophomore Cade Anderson. Cade was the Friday guy, Jay Johnson's first guy that he threw out there, and Jay said it was a no-brainer from the work that he's seen from Cade Anderson. Anderson's stat line, he pitched 5 innings. He didn't allow a run. He He allowed 4 hits, but he had 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, and he struck out 6 of the first 8 batters he faced. And that's the thing with Anderson is we saw it last year. He's a strikeout guy. Like, he's got the stuff with his wicked slider, and just he's got. Jay Johnson mentioned this a lot about the staff over the weekend. Pitchability, the ability to put pitches in the right place and the right time to get guys out. And Cade Anderson has that. And he has the ability to strike people out. He struck out 13 in one game last year in his freshman year against Southeastern. And I know it's Southeastern, it's a lesser team, but 13 strikeouts in one game is still 13 strikeouts in one game. He saw it. We also saw it during the fall. During the fall, Cade Anderson struck out 44.7% of the batters he faced in fall ball. Anderson throws between 90 to 94, and then his slider is the real go-home pitch to get guys out and strike guys out, and you saw him use that from the very beginning. So, very impressive performance from Cade Anderson, and he showed Jay Johnson made a good decision in the first opening weekend to give the ball to Cade Anderson as his ace. Because your Friday guy's your ace. You put your best pitcher out there. And Jay Johnson said, Cade Anderson's my ace, at least to start the season. And he did nothing to prove that was the wrong call. He really proved that call right. Anderson pitched 5 innings. And then Kason Evans, the freshman out of Houston, came in the 6th, and Evans was really impressive too. He pitched 2 innings of scoreless baseball with 4 strikeouts, and he got up to 98 miles per hour. So that's the thing you'll notice especially with the freshmen when it comes to Kason Evans and William Schmidt, is they have heat. Their fastball packs a punch, right? They blow by guys, and Kason Evans, again, with that 4 strikeouts and 2 innings of work, was really impressive. Jacob Myers came in the game in the 8th. He pitched 1 inning. He got 2 strikeouts, and then he reached up to 96 on the gun. Myers was really good as well. Myers is a transfer from Nichols. He was at Nichols last year, and he had 106 strikeouts last year at Nichols. So he's got experience, and he's another strikeout guy, and you saw that when he came in getting 2 Ks, and then Cooper Williams came in the 9th, the freshman, to close out the game, and he struck out the side. Williams, I believe, got up to about 96 as well. But all in all, it was a really impressive performance in Game 1, and the thing that stands out is the 17 strikeouts, which hasn't happened in an opening weekend or an opening game for LSU to start the season since the 70s when the stats started being recorded. So it was a dominant performance, and then it was continued in Game 2. Saturday's game was started by UC San Diego transfer Anthony Ianson. Ianson was the number 4 transfer in the country, according to Baseball America. He came in. He also pitched 5 innings like Anderson did a day before. He gave up one earned run, 4 hits, and he had 6 strikeouts. In the 2nd inning, and I believe in the 4th, he did a really good job of getting out of trouble. He allowed 1 run in the 4th, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. He did a good job getting out of trouble, which was really good to see. And when you're the number 4 transfer in the country, you're expected to come in and contribute. This is a guy who, again, one of the top arms in the country to get out of the portal, and LSU got him, and he got up to 95 miles an hour. Again, throws heat, really has a lot of power. After Ianson came in, Connor Binge came in, and he pitched 1.2 innings with 1 walk and 3 strikeouts. DJ Primo pitched 1.1 innings, giving up 1 hit with 3 strikeouts. And then Maverick Rizzi closed it out in the 9th with 2 strikeouts. So Binge got up to 96, Primo got up to 94, 95, and Rizzi was really impressive closing it out at 98 and just blowing it past guys to close it out. And Rizzy was a guy, besides the starters, all the starters this weekend, every pitcher did well. But I'd say out of the pen, the guys that stood out to me were Friday, you had Kason Evans, who was really good. Saturday, you had Maverick Rizzy, who was equally as good. He was dominant out of the pen. And then Sunday, which we'll kind of get to in a little bit, was William Schmidt, who came in and pitched 2.2 innings. But again, another really impressive Saturday. And then after Saturday, Sunday was started by a returning Chase Shores. And again, Shores didn't pitch at all last season, recovering from Tommy John. He was reportedly supposed to be available if LSU had made it to a super regional last season, but they unfortunately did not, getting bounced out in the Chapel Hill regional. Shores is a hard thrower, man. He can throw it all at 98. I mean, the amount of hard throwers on this team, you have Shores, Ianson, Schmidt, Rizzy, Kason Evans, all of those guys and more. There's more that are just that I'm not thinking of right now for some reason, but Jaden Newt also got up to 95 miles an hour. It felt like everybody was a heater thrower who could get it up there as far as miles per hour. And that was really impressive to see because LSU's pitching staff hasn't always been like that. They've had a couple of guys who have had a really good breaking ball, and that's been their bread and butter, and that's fine too. But it was really impressive to see all of the heat that was thrown by all of the guys that were in the game. So Shores again got up to 98. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 1 earned run on 3 hits and 7 strikeouts. In the first inning is where Shores struggled a little bit. He struggled a little bit in the first, but he started to look better as the game went along. And something I kind of noticed in the preseason as well, when you watch Shores pitch in the preseason and in Sunday's game, was that the first inning is his hardest inning to get through. First inning, he's kind of getting into his groove and kind of figuring it out, which happens to some pitchers. But as he goes along, as he gets deeper into a start, he gets better. And that's really impressive to see. So Shores, again, very impressive with those 7 strikeouts and only giving up 3 hits on 1 earned run. I would also say the thing about Shores is he's obviously got the heater, but the question is, can he locate and get guys out with his slider too? And later in the game, you were able to see his slider go to work, and he got guys out with the slider in the later innings, started mixing the pitches up really well, and that was really impressive to see. It was something that the Tigers needed to see if Shores could get that slider going, and he eventually did. Grant Fontenot came in the game. He pitched the 6th and had 2 strikeouts. He was really good with the breaking ball. His breaking ball those were his 2 strikeouts that he got were from his breaking ball. And it was really impressive to see Grant Fontenot, the guy who's everybody's been talking about William Schmidt going into the season. And the thing with William Schmidt is he's a highly touted up freshman who was getting first-round money offers to go to the pros, and he decided, no, I want to stay in Baton Rouge and play for my hometown team, the LSU Tigers. And he came in, didn't know exactly. I thought personally he might get a weekday start, like Tuesday or Wednesday, but he came in and pitched 2.2 innings and looked really good. He looked really, really good. Schmidt got up to 98, pitched 2.2 innings. He was really impressive. And then Jaden Newt came in and closed it out, getting the final out, and he got up to 95. So again, there's 2 more guys who were able to get it up to 95. Schmidt gets it up to 98, and he's got elite stuff.
A lot of freshman fireballers on the squad.
Yeah, a lot of freshman fireballers with Evans, with Newt,
Schmidt.
or not Newt, but Evans, Schmidt, Rizzy, all of that, seeing all of those guys. Just a few more notes about here, kind of getting introduced to these guys. So Grant Fontenot, redshirt junior transfer from Texas. So Fontenot's from Texas. Connor Benj is from Dallas
I
Baptist.
guess they're both from Texas, technically.
Both from Texas, right? And then Newt missed pretty much all of last season, recovering from Tommy John. So all in all, it was a great weekend for the staff as a whole. Just a few more notes to wrap up. Only gave up 2 walks. 2 walks the entire series. 2 walks and 45 Ks. That is dominance. And again, it's Purdue Fort Wayne, yeah, but getting to see this team opening, I can't remember personally a more dominant opening weekend overall for a LSU pitching rotation.
Lloyd said the same thing this morning.
I really can't remember that.
Yeah. Lloyd said the exact same thing this morning. I think you're on the right track with that. And another interesting stat, what's 27 times 3?
27 times 3?
Do I have to put this on a calculator?
50. 27 times...
No, not 50. Wait,
no,
hold on. Let me look it up.
No, it's 81. It's 81.
Okay, so 45 outs this weekend out of 81 were strikeouts. And you only walked 2 batters.
Yes.
I'd like to know how many people came to the plate for Purdue Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
That 2 walks? I think that's the most impressive stat this weekend, not the score lines or the 2 walks. That's crazy.
You know, something we always joke about is kind of the thing last year, or last football season, if you paid attention, it was kind of a running joke, me and false starts. That was kind of a running joke. With me in baseball, it's walks.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
Adds up.
Like, I hate walks. Everybody does, but I'm like, you're beating yourself.
2 very common.
You're beating yourself, right?
Yeah.
When you do that. You're not making the other team beat you.
2 very common instances where you shoot yourself in the foot in 2 different sports.
And again, 2 walks to 45 strikeouts is good. Is there... And competition is pretty weak, but the staff looks like it just has a lot more depth this season. I mean, look, the thing is, preseason, I thought Chase Shores was your number 1 guy. I thought he was your ace, and I was wrong about that, even though Shores is great, in my opinion. But if you're telling me we can have LSU go out there and have Cade Anderson to close out a series on a Sunday, because the guys before him starting are good enough to start before him, well, I'm perfect with that.
Wait. So you're saying Cade Anderson's going to be the back end guy, you think, later in the season for Sundays?
I don't think Cade's going to be the back end guy. I think Cade is going to be your Friday night guy.
Okay.
I'm saying the fact that Chase Shores was your 3rd starter in the rotation this weekend shows how deep of a rotation you have. Like, that shows that you have, because the thing with LSU last season was you had Luke Holman and Gage Jump start the first 2 games, and then Sunday, all or nothing. You didn't know. Ackenhausen started some. Sunday, you never knew. You had to win the first 2 games because you were probably going to lose the Sunday start.
Right.
But if you're telling me Chase Shores is my my Sunday starter if I'm LSU, I am thrilled with that.
Yeah.
Compared to what we had Sunday starting wise last season. Before we move on to the hitting, is there anything else that stood out to you, Christian, about the rotation?
No, but I think the thing with pitching for me that stood out was the amount of freshmen that played and pitched well. I'd like to see more competition. Obviously, Purdue Fort Wayne is Purdue Fort Wayne. So I'd like to see this keep progressing. But I was encouraged to see Cade Anderson make the jump from last year to this year to be the starter. Because if you remember, he's just a midweek guy. And now it looks like he's the ace. And then he got moved to the bullpen as well last year. But now he's the ace on this very stacked LSU roster. So I'm happy to see that, and I'm also happy to see the amount of freshmen that got significant pitches and innings this weekend. So
yeah, I mean, all around it was a great weekend for the rotation. Again, one of the most dominant weekends I've seen, opening weekends I've seen out of a pitching rotation. And yes, it's Purdue Fort Wayne, but that opening weekend from the staff was phenomenal. But let's get into the other side of baseball. Let's get into the weekend hitting notes. And for me, I don't know about for everyone else, but for me, the star of the weekend was Utah Valley transfer Daniel Dickinson. He was the number two transfer in the country, according to Baseball America. And he comes in his first game. In Alex Box Stadium on a Friday night and records 3 hits and 5 RBIs in game 1 of where this kid had played. I believe he said his average attendance at Utah Valley was 1,500 for each game he played in. And he comes in and plays in front of a crowd of 10,000 or more for the first time and gets 3 hits and 5 RBIs. Like, that shows you why he was the number 2 transfer in the country. We mentioned about Ianson being the number 4 transfer. When you're the top 2 transfer, one of the best position transfers in the country, and you come in, you're expected to contribute. And he did. He followed up that 3-hit, 5 RBI game with, he hit LSU's first home run of the season, and he had 2 more RBIs in game 2. It was really impressive to see how much of a gamer this guy was. I had heard a lot about him, but I didn't know for sure how it was going to be because, again, he was at Utah Valley. He played in front of 1,500 people all of his college career prior to LSU. And now he's out in front of 10,000, and he gets 5 RBIs in his first game, and then in the second game, he hits the Tigers' first homer of the season. So, again, Daniel Dickinson is really, really impressive.
Look at that rocket.
Exactly, man.
Absolute pisser right there.
I know, dude. He was on it.
Raking.
He was. Jay Johnson's favorite gave him the number 14, he said, after Jay's favorite player was Pete Rose. Jay Johnson loves Daniel Dickinson. Like, he talks glowingly about pretty much everybody on the staff, but especially Dickinson.
Did you see that? He also got the magic moment on Friday, first game of the season.
I mean, hey, 5 RBIs, I don't argue with it. In the first game, LSU scored 5 runs in the first inning Friday, so they really took control of the game again, 14-0 shutout. In the other 2 games, it was interesting because it took them a while to get it going. The Saturday game, it took a while until Derek Curiel and Jared Jones in the 5th hit back-to-back homers to kind of bust the game open, right? But until then, it was 2-1 up to that point before back-to-back by Curiel and Jones, which just really excited to see Derek Curiel out there in a LSU uniform. Meaningful baseball. I'm really high on Derek Curiel. A lot of people are really excited to see what he does as an LSU Tiger, and getting that homer was good to see. And then Jared Jones just continues to be Jared Jones. I mean, it's who Jared Jones is. He's up there, and I was telling somebody this weekend, every time Jared Jones makes contact with the ball, I'm like, that one's gone, right? Like that's gone, right? It's not always like that, but it's like that's the kind of power he has. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Off the scoreboard. What a monster. That's Bear. That's Bear Jones right there. Off the scoreboard. No doubt off the bat. And again, it's just, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to see. And then, so LSU took over in the 5th. In the second game after back-to-back home runs from Curiel and Jones. And then in the third game, again, kind of struggled. In the third game, I believe they had the bases loaded in the first inning and left the runner stranded, I believe. And that was really disappointing. And then Chris Stanfield in the second game also grounded into a double play, which when there were runners on base and had the chance early in the game to get the game wide open, busted open, right, against the lesser team. But they'll develop, and I'm not gonna be critical at all of this team. Hardly after there are a few things that I noticed, like they got thrown out a couple times trying to steal. They were a lot more aggressive, at least this opening weekend, that I've seen Jay Johnson teams in the past. They were a lot more aggressive on the base paths, and sometimes Curiel got gunned, and so did Stanfield, in kind of a questionable call in the third game, but I will say I really like seeing Stanfield out there in center. Saw him, he led off the season. He led off all 3 games, and he basically he started the season off with a triple for LSU after, the center fielder for Purdue Fort Wayne kind of had a rough first inning.
Yeah.
He dropped 2 balls. But
and I can't imagine it's easy for these guys to go into Alex Box's the first game of the season.
Yeah,
it's gotta be nightmare material. The dude's probably still thinking about it right now. Probably couldn't sleep last night. Probably had nightmares over Alex Box. That is not. And you got the student section in the outfield as well. It's just not a good situation to walk to, especially when you're Purdue Fort Wayne. So.
Mm-hmm. Saturday, he legged out an infield single as well. Kind of really showed you his speed. Really like Stanfield in the leadoff spot. I know it's just one weekend, but I like it. He's a speedy guy, and he can. I like Stanfield a lot in that spot. And then the third game was really interesting to me because who got it going in the 4th inning but Ashton Larson? Ashton Larson hit a 3-run bomb in the 4th inning to put LSU's first runs on the board and make it 3-1. And Larson didn't even start the first 2 games. The first 2 games he pinched hit, right? But he didn't start the first 2 games because the thing with the outfield is you have Stanfield in center. Pretty confident that's going to stick. As well as Curiel in left. Pretty confident that's going to stick. But I would say right field is a very interesting spot to me because you have 4 guys. You have Josh Pearson, you have Jake Brown, you have Ashton Larson, and Ethan Fry. And for a guy in Ashton Larson who didn't start the first 2 games, only pinched hit to come in, and he was the designated hitter. He was the DH in the 3rd game. But to come in after not playing the first 2 games really and hit a 3-run bomb, man. He finished the day he had another hit, and he finished the day with 5 RBIs. Really impressive from Ashton Larson. He was a freshman All-American last season for LSU, and seeing the fact that Ashton Larson struggled to get playing time in the first 2 games, that shows you how deep this outfield is. I'd say that there is no lack of talent in the outfield. There are 6 outfielders that could probably start on anywhere else, but there's only 3 outfield spots. Between Brown, Stanfield, Curiel, Josh Pearson, Ethan Fry, and Ashton Larson, those are 6 guys who can all start anywhere in the country, but they're all on LSU's team, right? And so that was really impressive, kind of seeing that. So as far as who started in right field, Jake Brown started in right field both Friday and Sunday. He had 1 hit on Friday and 2 hits on Sunday. Josh Pearson was the DH on Friday, and he played in right field on Saturday. Didn't play Sunday. Josh Pearson had a double and 2 RBIs on Friday to go along with 1 hit on Saturday. And we talked about it already. Ashton Larson, he pinch hit on both Friday and Saturday. And in those days, he had a hit and 2 RBIs on Saturday when he pinch hit Saturday. And then he was the DH on Sunday and had 3 home runs on a day where he had 3 hits and 5 RBIs. So what was really impressive was just to see the depth in the outfield, and it's really going to be, like I said, I think center with Stanfield and left with Curiel is a pretty much, gonna stick, but that right field spot, don't know, really, and I think I'd say DH is going to be your fourth outfielder because, again, you have 6 outfielders that can all start anywhere else in the country, but they're on the same team at LSU. So that was really impressive to see. Going to be interesting to see what they do there. Milam and Braswell look really good. Braswell played third base all 3 games. Milam played shortstop. Jay Johnson has said Stephen Milam is his best infielder defensively, and you usually put your best infielder at shortstop. So I would say center, right, second, first, third, and short are pretty much all wrapped up, in my opinion. Right is going to be really interesting to see what Jay does there. And then catcher is also going to be really interesting because there's really 3 candidates for catch. Luis Hernandez, the transfer from Indiana State, who hit 23 homers at Indiana State last year. Cade Arambidi, who was the number 1 high school catcher in the country in the 2024 draft, according to MLB.com. And he decided not to go into the draft and to come to LSU. And then Blaze Priester, who he was at LSU his first season, then left, transferred, played at Meridian Community College for 2 years, and then he comes back, plays at LSU. Fall ball, he led the team in home runs with 7. So it's really interesting to see what they're going to do with the catcher position. They all saw action at catcher. Hernandez started at catcher Friday and Sunday, and Arambidi started at catcher Saturday. Really, all 3 catchers kind of had not too impressive at the plate performances when you look at the statistics. So there's really not much separation at catcher right now. That's going to be really interesting. I feel like all the guys are going to get action between Hernandez, Priester, and Arambidi. Gonna have to figure that out and see what LSU, and that's kind of the good thing when you look at LSU's schedule is their non-conference schedule is pretty weak, but I feel like that's okay because you're trying to figure out mainly what you're gonna do at these certain spots leading into SEC play, and I think the big ones are just catcher and right field. I think those are the ones you kind of got to talk about. And it'll be interesting to say what Jay does with that in non-conference play, and if there's any, room made if anybody shines at the catcher position in these first 4 weeks of non-conference play to see if anybody steps up. I'd say the thing that also stood out to me before we kind of wrap it up on this show was the fact that the bottom 2 guys of your order the first 2 days were Stephen Milam and Michael Braswell. When you tell me it's kind of like with Shores, like we talked about earlier. Like Shores is your 3rd weekend starter. He's not your 1st. He's your 3rd because you have that much depth. And when you're saying Milam and Braswell is hitting 8th and 9th, how much depth did that show you your lineup has? Because they were arguably them, Barry Jones and Tommy White were your leaders, especially in the postseason last year, hitting wise. Seeing them 8th and 9th it shocked me, but I was like, the more I looked at it, the more I was like, wow, that, there's depth. There's depth everywhere on this team. And that's what I say stands out to me is just the depth on this team. When it comes to pitching, when it comes to hitting, the outfield, there's, 6 outfielders, all of the freshmen pitchers who throw hard, all of the pitchers who throw hard. It was a dominant weekend against lesser competition, yes, but I mean they did what they're supposed to do, right? If they didn't do what they were supposed to do and they struggled, we would all be panicking. But they do what they're supposed to do. They dominate, and people say, "Oh, it's Purdue Fort Wayne," and I'm like, I understand it's not great competition. But they did what they're supposed to do. That's a win. That's a massive win. It was really awesome to get to see some baseball. I have been really pumped for this season, really pumped to see this team. And as we kind of wrap it up here and give our closing thoughts, Christian, do you have anything you would like to add to the hitting conversation and kind of what were your takeaways overall from this weekend?
I think you kind of wrapped everything up. I'd like to echo, though, like we did in our first show that unfortunately did not get published, but Remember how we said our key word this year would be depth? Milam and Braswell at the bottom of your order. You said 6 outfielders. That's depth. Chase Shores is your third guy. Your back end weekend rotation guy. Yeah, that's depth. So that's what I've noticed this weekend with this team.
Just going to continue as to close out here. Really impressive to see. Really enjoyed this first show. I want to kind of give you guys a kind of a rundown of the schedule this week for LSU. Tuesday night, February 18th, LSU plays, not Tuesday night, Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. They host the Southern Jaguars before traveling to Thibodeau to play Nicholls State at 6:30 on Wednesday night. And then the weekend series will be another series at the box against the University of Omaha. Friday's game is at 4, Saturday's game is at 2, and Sunday's game is at 1. So that's what the schedule looks like this weekend. Southern, Nicholls, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the weekend series against Omaha. But really impressive, really great to see. Great to just see some baseball. I've missed it. I love college baseball in general. It's such a fun sport to watch for me personally, and I've really enjoyed doing this, getting to cover the team, and this is our first show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Really excited to hopefully meet and get to know some of you guys. We're really excited. I know I'm excited. Christian's excited to get the chance to cover this team. We hope you have a great day. Hope you keep enjoying this team as we are. And 3 out of 56 games have been played. Let's see if we can build on this and just keep showing some good signs from this weekend. But again, thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope y'all have a good one.
Peace.